Welcome back to Indigo Smokes Tarot and Astrology. This is an astrology video. Long time no see, I know. So this is for Venus and Libra, people who have Venus in Libra natally. Also dominant Venus energy in your chart. You can find some similarities to this as well, or not similarities, overlapping. So I'm going to get into what Venus is, what it represents, then I'll get into this specific placement. So Venus is love, it is beauty, it is your self-worth, your values, it is a part of your creativity, your self-expression, possibly what you're naturally good at, what you're naturally inclined to do, what you attract, how you attract, the type of people you attract, the type of people that are attracted to you. And I do have notes because I will ramble. Anyone who watches my videos know I can ramble. So if you see me looking down, I'm looking at notes. So Venus is love, beauty, relationships, harmony. It can, kind of refer to some parts of your erotic life as well. Like basically what if you had your own personal culture, Venus would describe that culture. Your taste in art, your art preferences, your alliances, your artistic talents, gifts, your values, your self-worth, your ideal person or preferences, your approach to love and connection, your love language, how you show love, how you receive love, the gifts you give, the gifts you receive, what you take pleasure in, what you like to do in your leisure time, your style, your taste, your aesthetic, once again, your creative expression. I always describe Venus as it's kind of like the vibe or the embellishment leading up to sex or a full-blown relationship or dating. Like I feel like it describes that too. It describes other things, but it really describes like the vibe of your relationships or the dating scene or just that build-up that naturally happens when you're in a relationship or when you're dating. When you start talking to someone, this really describes that and what you like and what draws you in. This describes your relationship with money, whether or not you save, how you save, what you like to spend your money on. Material goods, your relationship with yourself, your relationship with others. Once again, this is also talking about your self-worth, your self-value, your values. I think I already said your love language, how you spend your time, how you love, how you spend your money, your appearance, what you value in others and yourself, how you attract and magnetize things to yourself as well, because Venus is a magnetic energy. This is how you turn on the charm. So yeah, this is what you would lead with if you were trying to win someone over. Let me see. The shadow of Venus can be vanity, laziness, superficiality, hedonism, lack of taste, lack of direct expression, insecurities, amongst other things. Put that over there. Let me see, is there anything else that I'm missing? Love affairs, receptivity. This Venus, it also describes women or people of feminine expression, people who are more feminine in nature. This would definitely describe them. Your style of femininity as a woman or someone who identifies as a woman. Your love style, nature, language. I think I already said that. Your taste, pleasure, principle. What entertains you, like type of music, movies, etc. The type of luxury you like. Your talking style, what seduces you, how you seduce others, your charm, your power of attraction. Let me see, is that it? Give me 1 minute. I think I covered that. Your comforts, your creature comforts, indulgences, what relaxes you, your interest, your attractiveness, your beautifying process, your primping process, comfort. This can even govern your food preferences, music preferences, how you partner, your best qualities, how you keep the peace, your self-care, what you need for self-care, most likely. Yeah. Okay, so that's that. Sorry. Okay, so starting Venus and Libra, Venus and Libra. So we've already discussed what Venus is and how broad of a reach that Venus has on, you know, you as a person, you as an individual. So I'm going to start off with actually some celebrity Venus and Libra examples because this is really funny to me. So male and female celebrities with Venus and Libra. Give me 1 minute because I had to cross check and reference to make sure that these celebrities actually have Venus and Libra. I wanted to make sure that the website wasn't feeding me a bunch of bullshit. So celebrities with all right, so Beyonce. Everybody knows who Beyonce is. Beyonce has Venus in Libra. I think she's also a Libra rising, if I'm not mistaken, but she has Venus in Libra. Prince Harry, also Venus in Libra. Grace Kelly, Ryan Gosling, also Venus in Libra. Will Smith, Jada Pinkett Smith, August Alsina, all have Venus in Libra. That shit is funny. That shit is funny as hell. Bill Clinton also has Venus in Libra. Pablo Picasso also has Venus in Libra, or had, I should say. Emma Stone, Venus in Libra. Sean Connery, very attractive man. Matthew McConaughey. Says Bernie Sanders. Wow. Kobe Bryant, also Venus in Libra. Woody Allen. Stephen King. Paul Walker. Venus in Libra. Richard Gere, Lord, Nick Jonas, I don't really know who that is. Charlie Sheen, Hugh Grant, Aleister Crowley, that's interesting. Hilary Duff, Michael Douglas, Diddy, Sean Diddy Combs, that's interesting. I'm going to use a few of these celebrities as examples later on too. Sierra, also Venus in Libra. Anna Nicole Smith, also, and that's just the first page. I'm not even going to go through the rest because I got enough material just from those. Okay, so notice with a few of those celebrities, so with Sierra, with Will and Jada, with Diddy, their relationships are either a part of their brand, or you will find them always in relationships, and that becomes a part of their identity. So for example, you know how Diddy is known, like he's always going to have somebody on his arm. That is a very Venus and Libra quality. Also another celebrity that has Venus and Libra is Corinne Stephan, Superhead. Makes so much fucking sense. She literally made money, Venus money. She literally made money off of who she partnered with, even though it wasn't like official relationships according to social standards, and she was just a jump off. Relationships nonetheless is one-on-one. That makes so much sense. She's made money off of her relationships. Diddy, he's known, he's never single for long. Like he's always got somebody on his arm. Venus and Libra. Will Smith and Jada, like you, because they've opened up so much, you know that anyone who has listened even a little bit to Will Smith, you'll hear him say, you know, he just had this idea of what marriage and what having a family was going to be like, and he projected that onto his family, including his wife. So just he's an example of a man who is very relationship oriented, someone who idealized being in a relationship, someone who feels better in a relationship, someone who has made a relationship being a part of his brand. Very Venus and Libra. The fact that both Will Smith and Jada have that Venus and Libra conjunction, they were soulmates of some kind to have that synastry. And also because that synastry also was between Jada and August, because he also has Venus and Libra. That's just very fucking funny. There was definitely some chemistry there. There was definitely some soulmate energy there on all accounts. Like especially with Jada and Will, and with Jada and August. Like that is you can't make that type of shit up. And so even though Will Smith, he would still be Will Smith without the brand of being in a relationship, I do feel like Jada Pinkett Smith, her career benefited from being in a relationship. Will Smith kind of kept her relevant, in my opinion. And that is a very Venus and Libra thing, because her career has been better and more, I'm not going to say more stable, but her being married to Will Smith took her from here to here. And that's a very Venus and Libra thing. And you've heard them talk about marriage. Oh, we're staying married. That's Libra, because they, even if it's just for the legal benefits of marriage, they're all about, no, we're staying married. We're divorced where? That's very Venus and Libra. nah, we sticking this through. There's a codependency thing there, even if it's just contractual, just for the legal benefits. That's very Venus in Libra, because Libra rules contracts, Libra rules the law, Libra rules the surface level on paper of what a relationship is. So I just thought that was very interesting. I am going to get into more like whatever. Let me see, anyone else. Also, Sierra, she's known for her relationships. She was a celebrity before, but those relationships had a good and a bad impact on her career. When she was with Future, you know, she thought she was winning, but she took a hit. And she's known for that. She's now associated with Future forever. She's also associated with her husband forever. And her husband elevated her fucking career. He revived that shit. Took her to another level. Very Venus and Libra. Venus and Libra, they really do thrive better in relationships. But they have to be careful of that codependency thing of when it's no longer working for them. But Venus and Libra, you do thrive better being in a relationship. Or you're known for being in relationships. You could definitely be a serial monogamist. Who else am I forgetting? I think I already mentioned. I think I mentioned everybody. Also, August Alsina, him having that Venus in Libra, and the effect, good God, that Jada left on him. That is very, just the willingness to like accommodate and just fall into it. That's so Venus in Libra. So anyways, I know I'm already being redundant because I'm saying Venus in Libra so many fucking times, but I just thought that was very funny. So moving on. I think I already covered the relationship-oriented tendencies for serial monogamy, codependency, and just always having someone on your arm. That is a very Venus and Libra trait. Relationships of some kind play a major role or are a major focus for those with this placement. Somehow, social interaction is needed. It is a part of your identity. It is a part of what you value. Without it, you're going to feel like something is missing 9 times out of 10, unless there are other things in your chart to offset that. Venus and Libra people are typically very, very attractive. The men and the women, gorgeous. And even if they're not conventionally attractive, there's something charming and poised about them. So yeah, Venus and Libra people can be very charming, very poised, very stylish. They're usually conventionally attractive. Like I said, even if they're not, there's something about their appearance or their vibe, their personality that's just very Venusian, whether that's just being very charming, very funny, having a really good effect on people around them. There's something very attractive about Venus and Libra people that goes beyond, that can go beyond appearance, but definitely appearance. Yeah, something about them usually conveys a sense of style, charm, and or beauty if they're not conventionally attractive. They can be very intelligent, diplomatic people. Venus and Libra people, they have an eye or a natural gift for fashion, aesthetics, decor. There's just an innate knowing, okay, this looks good, you know. Very funny people, very flirty people, very charming people. They just have a way about themselves, a way about how they communicate and go about things. Values of a Venus and Libra is partnership, romance, harmony, peace. Once again, social interaction, beauty, fairness, balance. Their own sense of balance, at least, because I've seen some flip-floppy, not balanced Libras. Like, yeah. Some will say that like Libras don't get emotionally involved in their relationships. I disagree. But I do notice that a lot of Libras know they can, like some of them can know how to like detach, because Libra is an air sign. So it's hard to explain. It's like if there's a type of codependence that you can have on a relationship without it necessarily being overly, without it being necessarily about like an overly emotional enmeshment, I feel like Libras can do that. Like I said, just sticking in a relationship because one, that's what you're used to. You thrive better, you feel better in a relationship, and because you benefit some way, you know, legally, contractually from being in a relationship, they'll stay. Not necessarily because of like an emotional entanglement, but for other reasons will keep them in a relationship, thus still equaling some form of codependency, even if it's not an emotional codependency. I hope that makes sense. Venus and Libra, they're typically very popular with the opposite sex, sometimes even the same sex, because they're just attractive, charming people. Hold on, I think I have a DoorDash order. That is, oh, down the street. Okay. So yeah, I hope I explained that. So yes, Venus and Libra, they can be like emotionally like codependent as well, because it can rule codependency in general. But even if it's not like an emotional enmeshment or like entanglement of sorts, it'll still be something that's keeping them codependent on the relationship. Something, even if it's not an overly emotional attachment or an overly emotional codependency, but there's something that could keep them in a relationship to their own demise or their own detriment. Venus and Libra are typically very outgoing, adaptable, easygoing. There's a sense of grace about them. They typically have good manners. They may love going to like social events. Once again, social interaction is a very big thing for them. They could also work in interior decorating, event planning, things along those lines. Liking to go to events. They like to do things with other people. These are probably not people that want to go out and do things by themselves. It's not impossible. Like I said, there could be other things in the chart that offset it, but typically, even on like a basic level, Venus and Libra dominant people, they could just prefer to do things with people, whether that's, going to see a movie. They most likely don't want to go to the movies by themselves. They most likely don't want to go to a concert by themselves. They want to go with someone, or they could feel like weird. Yeah, then that's the next note here. May dislike being alone for too long. May prefer doing things with others and feel uncomfortable doing things by themselves. They can be naturally drawn to... they naturally draw people to them. Sorry, my handwriting is horrible. Naturally draw people to them. They're very good at networking, socializing, being diplomatic, also debating, negotiating. They can be very good at that. They're big on reciprocity. Like I said, and I don't know if other people think this, but in my opinion, from what I've seen with Libra dominant people, I know a lot of Libra stelliums for some fucking reason. So this is kind of where I'm getting that from. So these people may oxymoronically fluctuate between extremes, like in ideas, in their decisions. Like Libras are known for being indecisive, and I've definitely seen that. It's just like, yo, pick a side, stick with it. But it's hard for them because it's like they can see more than just their side in a lot of cases. So they can definitely change their minds often about a variety of different things. Their stance could change and just flip flop. It's like, wait a minute, you said this yesterday, now you feel like this? Yeah. I think I already said they can love to debate or go back and forth, not in like a hostile Aries or Scorpionic way, but more so just like in a playful banter way. They can subtly play devil advocate in conversation. If you pay attention to any like Will Smith interviews, you can like see, one, he likes to converse, he likes to debate, he likes to like inform people, but he can also play devil's advocate when he wants to. So there's that as an example. Ironically enough, Libras, they can be self-absorbed in their own way. It's very weird. I feel like that's when that Aries shadow comes out. More often than not, like Venus and Libra, they probably don't like confrontation, most likely. Prime example, anyone who, it was years ago, back when like Jay-Z, Solange, they had that fight in the elevator and Beyonce was just like sitting there chilling, like keeping her composure, not really doing anything. Like, yeah, that's a Venus and Libra type of thing for sure. Let me see. On the flip side, Venus and Libra, they can be very vain. They can be very superficial, shallow, just too materially focused. They can come off very much two-faced because they can adapt to whoever they're around at the time. Not necessarily like Gemini, but in a similar way. They could be generous. They could be overspenders. Once again, too much focus on the material. They can definitely buy on impulse, retail therapy. Venus and Libra, they typically want to be surrounded by beauty. Beautiful people, beautiful art, beautiful experiences, all of that. They want to be surrounded by beauty. But I've definitely met some messy ass Libras, but nonetheless, when they clean up, baby, they clean up. They most likely are very much into brands, things that are expensive, upper echelon. Venus and Libra, they have an eye for design. Like I said earlier, they could work as interior designers, architects, fashion design, engineering, sales, anything creative like photography. They could be art buyers, art sellers. They could work in law, negotiation, working with people, working with the public, artists, etc. They could have some kind of job where they're working with the public. So any of those things could be natural inclinations, skills, gifts, talents for Venus and Libra to make money off of. Hosting, concerts, being a great hostess, that could definitely be right up their alley. Venus Libra, they can definitely be hopeless romantics and idealists. I think once again, you can go right back to Will Smith. He over idealized Jada, the marriage, what it was supposed to be. Hopeless romantic. Yeah. And I feel like the reason that Jada isn't like that, she has other things in her chart. She has like a lot of Virgo energy, and I think she has some like strong Aquarius energy that kind of makes her more anti to conventional relationships. And that's something that, as you can see, Will Smith has had to like adapt to. Because he tried to tame her in a sense, and I think they use the term golden cage. She felt like she was in a golden cage because there was just certain things that she didn't want to do in regards to being in a relationship or being married. So, you know, that I feel like even though they have that Venus and Libra placement, Jada has things in her chart that counteract a little bit of that Libra energy. So she's just a little bit more, you know, iffy when it comes to certain relationship things, whereas Will Smith seems, at least on the surface and from what he said, he was more gung-ho about a traditional conventional marriage, whereas Jada was like, you know. So that's how two people with the same placement can have totally different expressions and preferences in their relationship, because she has more Virgo energy and Aquarius energy, and Will Smith is a Libra stellium, so opposite directions. They can definitely, Venus and Libra people can seem fickle in part, and due to this they may not like see your value if you don't meet their standards in the, at least not in the way that you once did. So if I can think of a better way to explain that, I'll come back and explain it. I don't want to spend too much time on that part, but they can definitely seem fickle, and that shallowness or that superficiality, it can come because, okay, if you don't meet these things on paper, they don't want you, because by appearance, if the relationship doesn't look good to them by appearance, they're probably not going to do it, because they, like I said, I think Venus and Libra, they're the couple goals. They want to be couple goals. That's the Venus and Libra thing to me, couple goals. And as you can see, you know, Will and Jada, they have thrived and made a brand off of being couple goals. Sierra and oh boy, couple goals. At the very least, Sierra wants to be couple goals. You see what I'm saying? Sometimes this Venus and Libra energy, it can, you know, fluctuate the opposite way, and it can express itself as commitment issues due to their indecision or due to their vanity. Once again, it doesn't look good on paper, so I don't want it. And or popularity with the opposite sex. Sometimes, you know, Venus and Libra women, they can be womanizers, or whatever you would call a woman who's doing the same womanizer shit to a man. Players, they can be, because they're so popular with the opposite sex, and sometimes even the same sex. So yeah, and that's where that indecision comes into play. If it is a case of them being like just super popular and they have so many suitors, that indecision can come into play and cause them to have like commitment issues, because it's like, oh, I have so many options, I don't know which one to choose, you know, that kind of thing. Gift of gab, they typically have the gift of gab. Like I said, Venus energy, Libra energy is very charming. Libra, it also rules like social manners and etiquette. So it's like they can have a natural gift for charming people, being mannerful, and that their naturally pleasant disposition, you know, benefiting them and attracting things to them via blessings and people and etc. They generally desire loving relationships. They generally desire to be in a relationship of some kind. Even if it's a Venus and Libra person, they just always want to be with their friends or their best friend. That's still a very Venus and Libra thing. So, yeah, let me see. Typically, they do love to talk, debate, communicate. They typically want to keep things light. They can be insecure. They can need too much validation. They could be too, once again, codependent on the reflection of their partner to feel worthy and validated in some way. I do believe that if, for example, if Will Smith and Jada Pinkett separated, they would feel weird. It's like, okay, where's my other half? Like, it would feel weird. So they can definitely fall victim to needing constant validation or constant companionship of some kind. Because it's a part of what they value, and it's part of their self-worth. It's like, oh, if I'm not in a relationship, you know, whether consciously or subconsciously, they could feel like their value has decreased. They can be very impressionable. They can be very naive in their own way, which can lead to, once again, romanticizing and idealizing people, situations, relationships, to the point of ignoring red flags or deeper issues. They can be on the flip side, they can be too compromising in relationships due to, you know, once again, that dislike for being alone, not wanting to separate. I think I already said they typically can see both sides of any given situation. Typically, they tend to prefer peace and harmony. They tend to dislike overt or excessive conflict. At least they don't want it to happen in like a public or a social setting that will probably embarrass them in some way, shape, or form. They'll probably look at aggression or vulgarity as unnecessary. They'll probably dislike rudeness or people who lack manners. Once again, Libra rules social etiquette, manners, charm, all of that. beauty, their aesthetic, like I said, they're typically conventionally attractive, classic beauty. There's a certain poise or sophistication that they have. They can give off like an expensive energy, or, you know, um, ladylike, gentleman, charming, flirty, intelligent. They can have reserved emotional natures, at least on the surface, because there's a certain refinement or grace that they have. I do feel like they are romantically inclined in most cases. The men with this placement may not be overtly macho. Like, they could be just, pretty men, like Will Smith, very pretty, especially in his prime, very pretty. Who else? For example, even though Prince isn't a Venus and Libra, he's a Venus and Taurus, that's still comfortable for Venus. He's still a pretty man. I don't know what Shamar Moore is, but he's a pretty man. I wouldn't be surprised if he had a lot of Venus in his chart. If he was a Libra, I don't know what his sign is, but that's a Venus in Libra or a Venus in Taurus expression, a pretty man. Venus can make a man very pretty. The men, although they may not be overtly macho, polished, refined, polite, great sense of style, charming, ladies' men attract, women flock to them, very charismatic, very funny, womanizer tendencies. They're usually gentlemen. Once again, at least on the surface, they know how to play the role. Give me 1 minute. I need to make sure my food is not sitting outside on the ground. Sorry about that. My food is not here, but it should be. Okay, so where was I? Yeah, so because Venus and Libra, or Libra energy, likes partnership, it's because they seek someone who will inspire them and add to them and balance and complement them. And I think I said before I stopped the video, they know how to play the social game. Even if they're not actually that way, they know how to put up the appearance, which is why people can refer to them as two-faced or superficial or, passive aggressive and so on and so forth. They can definitely be people pleasers. Once again, going right back to Will Smith, he has busted his ass trying to make Jada happy, and it has not happened. I blame that on her Virgo stellium, Virgo energy will always find it can, or in its darker expression, it can always find some shit to just pick apart and nag about. So I know Will Smith, being the Libra stellium that he is, has like stressed himself the fuck out trying to make Jada happy. I already said all these celebrities. I forgot I wrote these down. I didn't even have to look on my phone for that. But anyways, Venus and Libra dominant energy, they do thrive. Honestly, they do thrive better in committed, loving, healthy relationships. And they may be prone to quickly merging lives and assets with others. And I hope I don't get flack for this because of who I'm about to say this about, but with the utmost respect, strictly as an astrological, observation, Beyonce, Jay-Z, technically, if it was anyone else, such as Cardi B, such as anyone, if Beyonce wasn't Beyonce, people would have clowned her for staying with Jay-Z. They just would have. Like, Cardi B gets who's also a Libra, she gets a lot of flack for being with Offset. Who's Ari Fletcher? She got a lot of flack for whoever she's with. Like, pretty much everybody who is in the media getting cheated on, they're staying in their relationships. The flack that they get, if Beyonce wasn't Beyonce, she would have got that same flack at that same level with that same energy. And also, let's acknowledge the fact that Beyonce didn't leave Beyonce, most likely because of couple goals. They wanted to keep up that appearance. That's where that codependency comes into play. Now, we benefit from being together. Our brand benefits from being together, so we're going to be together. And she has made hella music off of her relationship issues. Like, this is Venus and Libra energy. She's probably never going to leave Jay-Z. If she was going to, she would have. She is not. He has embarrassed the fuck out of her, and she stayed. That's Libra energy. It can stay to a fault. It does not want to break up. It just doesn't. Once again, no shade. Likes home life to be harmonious, pleasing to the eye. They know how to set a vibe. They know how to set an aesthetic. Once again, everybody that I named, they know how to. They just know. Okay, whether that's Sierra, whether that is Beyonce, whether that is Will Smith, whether that is Diddy. I don't even like half the people that I'm naming, but these are prime examples of how Venus in Libra plays out in real life, and all of them all of them have style. All of them know how to decor. All of them know how to create a vibe. All of them know how to create an aesthetic. All of them know how to play a role. So please pay attention to that. They know how to make people feel special. They can sometimes like come off very detached, but they're witty as fuck. They're typically really smart. Even if they're not, their charm will still get them places their intelligence can't. They're drawn to extremely beautiful people or classically beautiful people. I would say they don't want to settle, but I've just given examples of people with this energy that have settled. So, yeah. They probably dislike people who are inconsiderate, ungrateful, tacky, selfish, loud, rude, boisterous. Turned off by unrefined people. They can be peacemakers. They can give good advice, like I said, because they can see multiple sides of the situation. They're drawn to people who, once again, enhance them, make them look good, or enhance their value in some way, even if it's money. Like, for example, again, I don't feel like Jada Pinkett Smith was ever like head over heels for Will. I think she kind of said that in her Red Table Talk, and she wasn't really like into him like that. Like, he was more into her. He was love struck when he seen her. He was like, that is going to be my wife. Her, not necessarily so much, but because it benefited her career, it benefited her look, her brand, she married him and she stuck with him. So, example, they want someone who is generally brag-worthy. That applies to their friends, lovers, partners, business associates. Make them look good, and they will most likely love you. Big on fairness. They may pride themselves on being fair or level-headed. Like anybody, hates to feel taken advantage of. I think I already said they have a flair for something creative, or they could even have a way with words, like poetry, music. Remember, this is an air sign, so they can definitely have beautiful words or a beautiful way of expressing themselves. Sometimes they can be pushovers. They can allow too much. Once again, Beyonce, Will Smith, y'all should have left. That's just as an example, no judgment. Usually display a willingness to adjust, share, or accommodate another in relationships. Sometimes too much so, putting people or giving people more energy, more chances than they should, making them unhappier in the long run. And once again, their relationships could take over their life or take on a life of its own. And all of the examples that I have stated, the relationship itself has taken on a life of its own, becoming a brand. Via business, reputation, YouTube couples, couple goals, relationships could just upgrade their life in a sense, or take over their life. The shadow, codependence, inconsistency, insincerity, superficiality, passive aggression, indecision, being overly compromising, commitment phobe, being dishonest, idealistic, too logical, too detached, conflict avoiding, overlooking red flags, over idealizing people, things, places, and situations, glossing over deeper issues, passive aggressively balancing the scales, aka being petty as fuck, or expressing their resentment or displeasure in such a way. Self-resentment, self-resentment for over-accommodation or being a martyr of some kind, definitely. Commitment issues could show up as avoiding them altogether to keep their options open due to indecision or having a certain ideal that they want met. Or it can show up as serial monogamy, where it can show up as serial monogamy, and even serial monogamy where they sabotage the relationship inadvertently because it doesn't meet their ideal. Sometimes it can show up as like settling. For advice for this placement is, once resentment builds, they should express it as it comes and not let it build. Because once it gets to that point, they're going to be petty or passive aggressive, or they may just leave. Even though I haven't seen a Libra just up and leave a relationship, maybe two. I've seen maybe two just up and leave when they're fed up. The other ones, they deal with it and it builds and it builds and it builds and it builds and it builds, and they're unhappy and they're resentful and they're being passive aggressive and petty. But I can count on two fingers how many Libras I know, both private and public figures, that have actually left relationships that weren't serving them or didn't make them happy. Libras, leaving is a very last resort for displacement. They typically don't want to, from what I've observed. Hold on. Okay, hold on. My food's finally here. So, anyways. So, things that could entertain or be enjoyed in pleasure or leisure time for Venus in Libra: art, music, poetry, writing, fashion, interior design, stimulating conversation, philosophy, debate, negotiation, intelligent pursuits, social events, anything you can do, anything fun that you can do with someone else, Venus in Libra. Anything creative, Venus in Libra. Anything intelligent could also apply to Venus in Libra. I would say people with this placement, they need a creative or mental outlet. They need to be stimulated mentally and or creatively. So Venus in Libra, they likely have a strong justice streak, which is why they can work in law, dealing with legal issues, debate, negotiation, things like that. How Venus in Libra would turn on their charm: being well dressed, being mannerful, being witty, being charming and funny, intelligent, kind, diplomatic. Their perspective, their mind, their words may be something interesting or attractive about them also. Libra energy, Venus and Libra, they can be good at mirroring others, just reflecting back to them what's, like I said, playing the role, and doing what they need. Once again, horrible handwriting. Being what they need to be for the given person or situation, sometimes to a fault that can lead to a diminished or ungrounded sense of self. Like, it's very easy for, once again, Libra energy, Venus Libra, to lose itself in other people or relationships. Venus Libra, they may dislike those who shake the boat, so to speak. Or they don't like it when people shake the boat too much, or those who are too abrasive or extreme. Like, once again, it is a sign of balance if they don't want to go outside of what they think balance is. And if you force them out of that, they're going to feel very, very uncomfortable. They often pervert or desire a mental connection within their relationships. That part, I feel like it's divided. It really just depends on the maturity of the Libra, because I've seen some very mentally lackluster connections in Venus and Libra relationships, especially if that Venus and Libra person is with that person for other benefits other than just being in a relationship. Once again, staying in a marriage because, taxes, or, we're couple goals, we can't break up. Like, I've seen where mental connection doesn't really seem to be priority in Venus and Libra relationships. So I feel like that's 50-50, and it just depends on the particular person. Once Venus and Libra likes you, they're typically open, or they're all in. And I think you can see that in all of the examples that I stated. Like, they can dive headfirst into relationships, The way that they can be petty, like, it comes out because they feel like somehow, some way, they don't feel like they're getting out of their relationship what they put into it. And so instead of just speaking up about it, their pettiness will come out, and even if they're not aware of it, it's like they're keeping score. And so they'll do little things to get back at the other person, instead of just saying, hey, you need to pick up the slack in this area, or I do this for you, why don't you do this for me? So instead of saying it, they'll do something petty, like, just to even the scales. So yeah. Okay, I get it. You dropped my food off. Thank you. So I think I already said fear of being alone, being over-compromising, people-pleasing, being a martyr. I'm going to have to mute this because I'm tired of that. Alright, where else? Yeah, so Venus and Libra, they could attract people who take advantage of their accommodating nature and their willingness to please. they likely don't like overly emotional displays. And they'll likely show their commitment via their actions more so than their words or overt emotional expression in a lot of cases. Or they can express that through their time and their effort, or, you know, really grandiose romantic gestures, gifts, generosity. Mind you, Venus and Libra, there's a romantic streak that is there. Let me see what else. They would most likely, Venus and Libra, Libra dominant people, they would most likely prefer level-headed, tactful talks over overtly aggressive or overly emotional exchanges. Yeah, especially if they're in public when it happens. Absolutely. Yeah, non-confrontational, passive. They can be resentful. They can feel powerless. They can disempower themselves. Codependent, needy. They can be chameleons, people pleasers. They could also, Venus and Libra, you could attract people with a lot of Libra energy, or you could attract air signs to you. So, yeah. And oftentimes, no matter what placement you have, you attract people, or you are attracted to people with similar placements to yours. It's very interesting. I've noticed that. Like, I've looked up all of the celebrities that I really like, and we share the same moon sign and the same Mars sign. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's why I fuck with you, because we have similarities. So, or similar energy signatures. That's how I should put it. So let me see. Also, outside of attracting air signs and other Libra people, Venus Libra, you could attract superficial people. You could attract shallow people, vain people. You could attract clingy, independent people. You can even attract bullies because of, once again, that over-accommodating nature. People who will take advantage. Like I said, people with this placement, they may over-idealize their partners based on how they look or something that they do, only to be disappointed when they realize, oh, they're human. There is no real ideal. There is no real perfect person out there. That can be very disheartening for them. But an example of that, other than Will Smith idealizing Jada, and even Jada idealizing Tupac. Yeah. So that's a thing. And August Alsina, he most likely he idealized Jada at that moment. I'm so sure how things played out really disappointed him. I'm sure he expected more from her. So once again, idealizing in that way. Let me see who else. Sierra, she's kind of idealizing her relationship for the public as well. You know, no relationship is that perfect. Like, I do believe that she is happy and all of that, but I'm just saying there's some idealization that's there. Yeah. Yeah, so they can definitely be disheartened when they realize that their partner or what they've, idealized doesn't fulfill the ideal they've created in their mind. I already said, no. They don't like tackiness. They don't like tackiness. Like, you gotta have some style about you. They can attract those that make them feel balanced. They want someone who makes them feel balanced. Like I said, yeah, I'm just gonna leave it there. Oh, Venus and Libra. So a lot of Libras that I've met, like they can tell some white lies to keep the peace. Like I've seen that with my own eyes. It's like, why are you lying about small shit? They just don't want to. They don't want to disrupt anything. It's like, oh, okay. And that's what I mean by like glossing over things, being overly accommodating. They can lie to keep the peace. Yeah, and that inner conflict happens when they keep the peace at the expense of fairness and balance to themselves. So they have to make sure that they don't let resentment build before they say how they feel or before they detach. They need to practice using their voice for themselves. Ideally, their partner should know or learn how to read them when they're not expressing their needs or their truth, and encourage them to express themselves before issues build up, as they are normally not direct or they hesitate to express, hard truths. So they definitely need a partner that sees that about them and encourages them to stand up for themselves and voice how they feel. A lot of the time. They learning to stand up for yourself, learning to have your own identity, learning not to be overly accommodating, learning not to just do things to keep the peace, learning to have a strong sense of self and healthy boundaries is a big thing for Venus and Libra. Also, for example, even though there's other things in her chart that make this happen, this doesn't help. So back to a celebrity that I mentioned earlier, Corinne Stephan, Superhead. She has Venus in Libra and Mars in Libra. So there's that conjunction there. So relationships, once again, that's her bread. That was at one point her bread and butter. That's how she made her name. That is how she built her brand. And, you know, anyone who read the book came out when I was hella young. Like, I shouldn't have been reading the book, but I read the book. So, just in that book, you see how overly accommodating she is and how she accepts so much abusive behavior that she should not have accepted. I feel like that has a lot to do with that Libra energy. And then also, she has a lot of Pisces energy in her chart that most likely allowed that abuse as well. Libra and Pisces can be overly accommodating, and they can attract abusers because they're overly fucking accommodating and they don't implement those strong boundaries and having a strong sense of self. So just another Venus and Libra example of someone who will sacrifice it all for who they're with. So there's that. So basically when I say that, they need to tap into a little bit of their Aries sister sign so that they can not be so, yeah. They can be very good at putting others at ease, smoothing things over. Like I said, they're very charming. Their manners are typically on point. They know how to play that role. Can't stand to be unnoticed or ignored. Libra and Aries have that in common. Do not ignore them. Don't pretend like you don't notice them. That is going to affect their ego. They're going to feel some type of way about that. They can also idealize or romanticize sex in some way or another. Yeah. They feel their sense of worth and value through other people, hence the desire to be liked, people pleased, and validated. Like, it does something for them. Libra is still fundamentally, mentally, it's a cerebral sign. So they're always somehow focused on what it should be. They can seem emotionally reserved or detached with the nitty grittiness or the messy parts of the relationship sometimes, and seeming more like removed scorekeepers or ideal holders rather than showing or engaging their feelings. So it's like they could experience the relationship through their mind as opposed to, okay, I feel this way, I hate to feel this way, let's talk about it. They'll hold on to their ideal or what they feel like it should be, and it can seem like they're keeping score or like it's supposed to look a certain way instead of them just being in the relationship. Sometimes that can't happen. With this energy, Venus and Libra men, I've noticed they have very, very, very high standards for looks, for just everything. They can have very, very high standards, and the Libras that I know, they can be ruthless if you don't meet those standards. Like, ugh. I'm just gonna leave it there. I don't want to throw shade at my people, but they can be assholes when you don't meet their standards. I've noticed that, and I don't know if it's just the ones I know, but I've definitely, paid attention to that. Yeah, they value and understand fairness and reciprocity or reciprocation from or through like an intellectual lens more so than an emotional. It's like, well, I did this for you, so you should do this for me. It doesn't necessarily have to do with emotion. It's just like, it's literally like a contract. It's like, well, I fulfill my part of the contract, you need to fulfill your part of the contract. I hope that makes sense. But yeah, whereas, for example, with a water sign like Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, they'll be like, well, I did this for you, it hurts my feelings that you don't do this for me. It's the same thing, but it's coming from a different standpoint. I hope that helped you to understand what I'm saying. And I think I read all of this already. Yes. Yeah, definitely can be in love with the idea of love, often experiencing disappointment when realizing that reality doesn't match up to what's in their head. Like I said before, they can be very picky or judgmental in their own right at times, especially when it comes to what they feel it should be. Yeah. If they are too imbalanced in their Libra expression, they could attract those with Aries qualities to teach them to stand up for themselves via conflict, challenges, bullies, people who take advantage and over control, basically. I already said the indecisive. What else? Yep, union partnership of some kind is essential for this placement. Even if someone with Venus and Libra is like a bachelor or bachelorette, they'll most likely always need their best friend around, or they need to be in business with someone. They need a business partnership. Like, you're typically going to see a need for or the actualization of partnership with Libra dominant people and Venus and Libra people. That's what they signed up for in this lifetime, or that's what they need in this lifetime. Could be definitely lovers of the arts. They could be lovers of law and philosophy as well, but definitely they can be artistically inclined. They are naturally and subconsciously inclined towards achieving harmony, balance, peace, and union, even if it's just their version of it and no one else understands it. That drives them. On some note and in some way, they seek beauty, they seek love, and they seek balance in their daily lives. So they can be peacemakers and they can play the voice of reason. They can normally remain quite level-headed. I thought I already described them in. Hold on. They can be good friends, loving partners, can have expensive tastes, but wonderful aesthetics, wonderful style, typically liking name brands. I think I already called the men gentlemen. They can be very laid back, witty, flirty, all of that. Romantic streak, grandiose romantic gestures. They can definitely do that, especially if they're trying to win someone over, turn on the charm, for sure. They can be very understanding, I've noticed, very friendly. I already said they need some kind of form of self-expression, whether that's a creative outlet, a mental outlet, something. Something that I've noticed, I think I've seen it, no, never mind, I've seen it in men and women. They can just project this air of like detachment. They can just, I don't know what it is. I think all air signs have it, but Libra is more subtle because it's a little bit more feminine than the other two air signs. But there can be like a controlled or reserved air to their nature. As an example, Grace Kelly, like there's just something that seems very reserved about her. Like, yeah. There's an accentuated desire for them to be impressive. They want to be impressive. They want to be attractive. Like, yeah. It's not uncommon for this energy to change aspects of their identity or their lives to accommodate the needs of others. Some may be too quick to do this, hence why I was saying they can be impulsive. They can jump into relationships with the same impulsion of Aries, but from a different perspective, you know? So it's like, okay, I'm jumping into this because this looks like it matches what's up here. Whereas Aries is like, fuck it, I like how it feels, it's exciting, let's go for it. So they can both be impulsive. It's two different things that push them into that impulse. These people could be clingy, but I think that was obvious with the codependency part. They're most content when dating, in a relationship, or being with friends. Presentation is important to these people on a variety of different levels. If they're doing something, they're going to be very picky about what it looks like. They want it to look good, or they're very picky about their aesthetic and how they look. I.e., for example, Beyonce, very particular, but she also has some Virgo energy as well. Presentation is very important. This is Venus energy. It wants it to look good, smell good, feel good, meet certain standards to impress people. Whereas like Virgo is picky in particular because it's like they want it to be done right. Libra is like, I need this to look good. This is a representation of me. I want it to look good. Whereas Virgo is just like, it needs to be done right because it needs to be done right. Hope that makes sense. Once again, I think I said earlier, they're very impressionable. So they have to be careful who they surround themselves with. They may associate, or they may like assimilate and become like a mini version of their partner's identity or their partner's views and values. And so they could be prone to identity loss. Like I was saying, they can lose themselves in other people. That's where that chameleon energy comes into play. Venus and Libra, they can come off like they're flirting even when they're not. So Venus and Libra person, they could just be friendly and it'll still be perceived as flirting. So, and then sometimes they can flirt casually with no intention of doing anything else, so they can come off like two-faced or like they're being a tease, but that's just their nature. That's a good example. Like, I'm pretty sure a lot of people have thought Will Smith was flirting with him. No, he was just being funny. He was just being funny. Or charming. What else? They can fall in love quickly, which could lead them to be with ill-suited partners. I said that. They fall in love with their idea or their perceived ideal of love quickly. And then once they're in it, it's like, oh, well, this isn't what I thought. Oh, yeah, it's not. They can definitely be high risk for being burnt out, which is why they need those boundaries and that strong sense of self and identity. They can be too concerned about what others want and think. And somehow, some way, they're going to surround themselves with beauty, whether that's beautiful people, beautiful art, beautiful experiences, beautiful places, so on and so forth. Whoever or whatever they're around needs to make them look good and feel good or better. Said all that. Oh, they could also be very good with public speaking as well. Service industry, because of their accommodating nature. They can be empathetic in their own way. But I've also noticed that there's a streak of like just being very rational, very factual with the men especially, but even the women, there's like, no, but these are the facts. Like, but this is what makes sense. So I've seen that, and I think that's what can contribute to that seemingly reserved nature, you know? I feel like it's a little bit more obvious in women because people aren't used to, well, society has made women be a certain way, and so any woman that appears a little bit more in control can, like, you know, seem different from the rest. But let me see. They have a tendency to either be runners, they can like just run away, or suffer in silence. They can be sensitive to criticism. I feel like these are redundant notes, that's why I'm like looking down. Turned off by vulgarity, ignorance, negativity. Yeah, it is the last page. Okay, so I do feel like I reiterated a lot of things with here. All air signs, Libra energy included, Venus Libra included, they could avoid, whether consciously or subconsciously, deeper self-reflection, because once again, it's hard to self-reflect when you're always with someone. You never have enough time to yourself to self-reflect. So that can be a reason why Libra dominant or Venus Libra people want to be around people so much, because they don't want that time alone to self-reflect. They don't want to think about certain things. They don't want to deal with deeper emotional issues, you know, so that can definitely be a part of the reason why they subconsciously or consciously avoid, you know, deeper self-reflection, and why they're so consumed, or they can be so consumed with other people and things external to themselves. They have to work on seeing their value and feeling their own value from within, not externally. So self-care is essential for this placement, as long as it doesn't get out of hand in either direction. I feel like both Venus and Taurus, Venus and Libra, self-care is important in moderation, obviously, but they are both inclined to feeling and needing to be pampered, experiencing luxury, wanting a certain lifestyle, and wanting a certain level of indulgence. So yeah. Beauty and charm is their superpower, Venus and Libra. They're loving, they're caring, but they can be insecure at times. They're inclined to wanting the finer things in life and having lots of friends and social events and just always being out, a social butterfly. If they are single, they're not going to be single for too long. Even if they're not in a relationship, they're dating someone. Okay. They can, once again, mirror other people's personalities. I think I said that earlier with that chameleon energy. They can, some Venus, some Libra energy can be like kind of narcissistic, now that I'm thinking about it. I've seen it. But yeah, they can be flighty in relationships too, in their own way. They can be kind of critical, shallow, and vain. I've met some really, 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 really vain vain Libra people, men and women. But the men are a different breed of vain. It's like, nigga, you print more than I do. Get out the mirror. Like, I've seen that before. So, yes. I think that pretty much covers it. Let me see, is there anything else that I am missing? I don't think so. I feel like the celebrity examples kind of covered a lot of what I wanted to explain about Venus and Libra placements. But ultimately, Venus and Libra work on being comfortable with solitude, being comfortable with self-reflection, not being too codependent. Yes, you do. Yes, this placement energy does thrive better in a relationship, but it should be the right relationship, because it can also bring you down. Perfect example with both Will Smith and Jada, and with Sierra, Future, and Sierra and Russell. Like, one relationship brought her reputation down, one propelled her forward. with Jada, I honestly feel like Jada has kind of benefited a little bit more with the relationship than Will. I feel like Will Smith would have been Will Smith regardless. But, you know, I'm sure, you know, there's some perks that both of them have received from being together, but there's a lot of toxicity there too. So, yes, you thrive better in a relationship, but make sure the relationship itself is healthy, because you are impressionable, because you do have issues with boundaries. You need to make sure that you're not around people who take advantage of that or make it worse. But yeah, you're relationship oriented because you're supposed to be relationship oriented. Otherwise, your soul would have chose a different placement before you incarnated. It's really just that simple. So if I'm missing anything, please put it in the comments. Let me know what you think of this video. If it resonates, let me know if I OD'd with the celebrity examples. Normally in videos I'm like fumbling over my words a little bit because my brain is like going 50 miles per hour and I'm looking at the time in my notes, and it's just a lot of multitasking. So if I missed anything, please let me know. And if I was too focused on the celebrity examples, please let me know. But I loved using them as an example because I feel like, you know, it helped me to explain the Venus and Libra energy even better than I would have had I not used the celebrities. So anyways, thank you so much for watching. If you have watched till the end, I hope that it resonated. I hope that it made sense. If I'm forgetting anything, put it in the comments. Tell me what you think. Any feedback is appreciated, and I will see you next time in my next video. And mwah.